Okay, we'll be speaking to my colleague Aishat in a bit, but for now, let's turn to a former Assistant Director at the Department of State Security, Denisa Makre, as well as a legal practitioner, Abba Hikima, to help with the legal and security implications of these charges. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here. Abba, I'll start with you. Does a public admission of unlawful phone interception automatically trigger criminal liability under Nigerian law?
Yeah, it does. And that could be either judicially or extrajudicially. As in this case, I understand the former governor of Kaduna State extrajudicially admitted or confessed to tapping the phone conversation of the current NSA, before which he even admitted is a wrongful activity. He admitted himself that one needs an order of court to be able to do that, and that the government does not do that, and that the government does not have the exclusivity of doing that, where he now went ahead to say that they also have either been tapping or somebody who taps has told him. So this naturally will crystallize into some criminal offenses. As example, Section 12 of the Cybercrimes Act and Section 27, and of course Section 131 of the Nigerian Communications Act, all have given scenarios that criminalizes what El-Rufai himself admitted as doing. So yes, that extrajudicial statement made by El-Rufai can actually ground a preferment of charge and eventual conviction.
All right, let's quickly dash to my colleague Aishat for further update on the protest earlier today, and then we'll come back to our guest. Aisha, if you can hear me, good evening. Let's begin with the attack on New Central Crew and why that happened.
Say today adds to the number of days and amounting to years where Nigerians are still asking for press freedom in our country, even as the country has been practicing democracy for years. I mean, today we were outside doing our due diligence outside the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and earlier we saw a group of protesters. I mean, some were pro the former governor and others were against the former governor of Kaduna State. And whilst the ones that were against the former governor of Kaduna State, whilst they had done their protests peacefully without the EFCC officials, asking them to leave. As a matter of fact, the spokesperson for the EFCC spoke shortly after the protesters gathered in front of the headquarters, saying that the former governor must answer questions and he must, be prosecuted. And shortly after, the former governor of Kaduna State moved right into the headquarters of the EFCC, in his convoy. But then his supporters, as you can see on the screen, also accompanied him. But upon trying to gain access into the premises of the EFCC, they were restricted. Even as they decided to still stay in front of the headquarters, they were soon dispersed by the security operatives attached to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. So they dispersed them. They didn't just tell them to leave. They deployed tear gas canisters, as you can see right on the screen. And even we, the press, myself and the camera operator, were actually harassed. Equipment were seized, I would say snatched from our hands right well, we're about going live, to give details of what was going on, our camera and a tripod and also the live view. But later on, after some calls were made, they returned the equipment to us without any sufficient or reasonable explanation as to why they snatched these equipment from us. The only thing they said was they thought we were part of the protesters and we're not press. We mentioned that we were press people. I mean, we showed our ID cards, we had our uniform on and everything, but that happened. And as soon as we moved right from the front of the headquarters of the EFCC, we moved towards the main entrance into the headquarters. You can see by the main road there. Another level of harassment erupted. I mean, just because we're trying to go live again.
Aishat, and quickly, in the interest of time, we have two other guests standing by. Could you confirm in 30 seconds if that interview with the former governor went true? Was he released or held?
Well, at the time we were there, he had not been released. He had not been released. He was still within the premises of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. He had not been released at the time we were there. Thank you very much, Aishat, for the coverage, and I'm glad you're okay. All right, before we go back to our guest, we will add this story because it's important and at the heart of the conversation as well, in continuation of the protest. The Department of State Services, DSS, has filed a 3-count charge against Nasir El-Rufai, former governor of Kaduna State, for allegedly intercepting the telephone conversation of Nuhu Ribadu, the country's national security advisor. The charge was filed by the DSS Council on Monday at the Federal High Court in Abuja. The secret police said the alleged offense contravened the Cybercrimes Prohibition Prevention Amendment Act 2024 and the Nigerian Communications Act 2003. Last Thursday, there was mild drama at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, when security operatives attempted to arrest El-Rufai as he returned to the country from Cairo, the capital of Egypt. The ex-minister had said the DSS operatives who met him at the Abuja airport did not present any letter of invitation. Let's go back to our guest. This time we bring in Dennis Amakre. He was a former assistant director at the Department of State Security. From a national security point of view, how grave is the alleged interception of national security advisors Nuhu Ribadu's communication system?
Anyway, thank you very much for having me. You see, these are the problems. I feel really sad that El-Rufai, somebody who had been in government, a minister before, a governor before, you know, for whatever reason, is trying to, you know, play this nasty game. And in playing it is not clever by half, whereby he's shooting himself on the foot. You know, number one, he came out by himself to say that he tapped the phone of the NSA. I know that was a lie because it's totally lie. He cannot do that. You know, even WhatsApp is end-to-end encryption. And of course, there are special equipments that you need to tap into that. You know, I don't think he has it. If he has it, how can he, after, you know, tapping that information, go back and come out to television?
Yeah, so I think I tried to watch that interview, and I think at some point he did say that it was someone who did it that gave them the information, that the government always taps people's phones, so they have ways of doing that. He did not specifically said he tapped the line, except I'm wrong.
Okay, maybe somebody tapped it and then did that. He has the responsibility now to tell the DSS who that person is.
Okay, let's go.
I personally believe.
Okay, let's go to Abba and get that part of the comment you just made about who that person is. Under a section of the Cybercrimes Amendment Act, what in your view constitutes, not your view now, what does the law say about failure to report? Because one of the charges against the former governor was that he failed to report this alleged breach to the relevant authorities.
Now, there's a duty, legally speaking now, there's a duty on every law-abiding Nigerian to make sure that every time he comes across anyone who is violating the law, not just typing the telephone conversation of the National Security Advisor, to report that illegality to the security agents. El-Rufai on a national television admitted initially that we were listening. That was what he said. Before, later he was queried by the journalist, and then he said somebody who taps told him. Now, if somebody taps the telephone conversation of the National Security Advisor and then told you, then there's a duty on you as a former governor, just like Mr. Dennis said, and as a former minister, and also as a graduate of law, because the last time I checked, El-Rufai is a graduate of law. There's a duty on him to reveal that piece of information to the relevant authorities. And failure to do that has been criminalized by the law, especially Section 27 of the Cyber Crimes Act clearly says whoever aids or abates or whoever is privy to such a violation generally and fails to report to the appropriate authority has committed a crime and may be punished in the same manner as the actual person who committed the offense. So that second charge, which you are showing right now on the screen, clearly takes care of that. Section 27 has criminalized this, and therefore, El-Rufai may be charged. And the fact that he made this extrajudicially, I wouldn't know if you have a question like that, may somehow constitute some sort of, I would say that there will be some need on the part of the prosecution to go extra mile, to corroborate what El-Rufai has said. But I don't want to delve into that. In short, the answer to your question is yes, it is wrong, and he has admitted to it.
Dennis, earlier you said the El-Rufai, who has been a governor and has been in politics, he even reiterated that over and over during the interview, that he has worked in the public service for a while. You expect that he would know better. Would you say this is politics, just politics playing out, or there are graver implications to a former public or a former governor who should know better coming out to say things like this?
Okay, since El-Rufai fell out with the present government, he was very, 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 very close. One of the original people that was working with the present president. I saw him in Chatham House, where he was also even representing the president, the candidate at that time. Now, this is politics. And because he wants to go back into politics, he feels that he's a kind of untouchable. I think that's where he made the mistake. He felt he's some kind of untouchable, and then he has a lot of people behind him by even inviting them to the airport when he was coming to gather around him, making noise over there. He does not know that if he's a lawyer, he should know that that alone is resisting arrest. He's resisting arrest, and that's a crime on its own. Now, and other things that he has been doing. So it's basically politics, because if you look at that letter, he even copied it to the chairman of ADC. Well, I don't see how you are copying a letter about toxic waste to your party leader. So all these are, I think you can read through it, that is politics.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for obliging us tonight. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.